We're all set, sir.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you. For
Yes.
call to order, it's 7 p.m. It's the Town of Newington Conservation Commission meeting for December 15th, 2020. Ms. Gibbons, please call the roll.
Ben Ancona III,
Here.
John Bashand,
Here.
Philip Block, John Casasanta,
Here.
Bernadette Conway, Richard Leverrier,
Present.
Alan Paskowitz,
Here.
Andrea Seidel,
Here.
Max Turgeon,
Here.
Jeff Wagner.
Here.
Okay. Since Ms. Bernadette Conway, there's no Democrat alternate, left a seat for Mr. Block. I will seat the Republican. I will give Max Turgeon a shot to be seated in Philip Block's place. Max Turgeon will be seated for Philip Block this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Item 3, we have the election of officers. First for chairman. Are there any nominations for chairman?
Yes, this is
Commissioner
Commissioner
Paskowitz.
Pat. Yes, I'd like to nominate the current chairman again, Andres Sedil. Based on his performance the last year has been, to my view, impeccable in expediting applications and also being fair and impartial to applicants and all the members of the commission.
I
Thank
agree.
you.
I agree with that.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner
I would-
Casasantos has his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to second that.
All right, well, first, I will accept the nomination. I thank you. And I just want to say on behalf of the commission, I like to be a consensus builder. Party affiliation, I sort of takes a back seat in my mind. I like to work consensus, get alignment with the team, to get a win-win for both the applicant as well as the town and the environment. So that's what I always strive for, is having alignment with everyone and taking everyone's opinion into consideration. So accept the nomination for chairman. It's been seconded by Commissioner Casasanta. Are there any more nominations for chairman? So, Mr. Hinckley, from the secretary, do we have submit a motion for the vote?
Well, technically, you don't have a secretary right now because Ms.
All
Clark
right.
was removed.
All right, then, we'll go ahead with, if there are no other nominations for chairman, I accept. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you to the commission. Thank you. The vote passes unanimously. Thank you. Next on for the position of vice chairman. Are there any nominations for vice chairman? Commissioner
Mr. Chairman?
Casasanta. Yes,
I'd like to nominate Alan Paskowitz to retain his position as vice chairman. He's done an outstanding job the past year, and I think you and him make a very good team at the top of this commission.
thank you. Is there a second for that?
I'd like to second that. I think you guys, to echo Commissioner Casasanta, do a great job together.
Who is speaking right now?
I'm sorry, it's Commissioner Turgeon.
Commissioner Turgeon, okay. Commissioner Leverrier.
Well, procedurally, I'd like to make another nomination.
Go ahead.
All right, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Wagner. I have limited knowledge of him personally, but I know that he's a hardworking guy that goes above and beyond the call of duty, and I think he'd be great for this position.
Okay,
I'll second that.
there's a second
John
for,
Bashand.
Commissioner Bashand.
Yes.
So, Mr. Hinckley, do we have a vote for the first position, then the second one?
Yeah, you just basically just have a vote for the, yep. You can do it that way. You might want to have Miss Gibbon do a roll call vote. Just poll each,
Yeah, roll call.
I'd like to interject something. This is Commissioner Paskowitz.
Yes,
I have other duties I have to fulfill in my education that are being larger than normal due to workshops over online. So I'm going to pass my baton to others that would wish to take on the vice chairman position.
okay, may the record show that Commissioner Paskowitz has withdrawn, has not accepted the nomination. So, with that said, I have a vote for vice chairman for Jeffrey Wagner. All in favor? Ms. Commissioner Lavariere, you have your hand up.
Oh, no, I was just voting yes.
Okay, so all in favor for Commissioner Wagner? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Commissioner Wagner.
I appreciate it. I know I'm new to the group. I am a hard worker, and I'm here for the town people in the town. And I'll be unbiased in my decisions, for political parties. It's what's good for the town, what's good for the people. I appreciate the nomination.
Okay, thank you for those words.
One question I have, this is Commissioner Paskowitz. Hello?
Go ahead.
The new vice chairman, I don't know anything of his background. Could he just make a short comment brief on what is
if I would just interject, why don't we just finish the elections first and give him some time at the end of the meeting, perhaps, just so we can keep it
Certainly.
moving?
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Moving on for nominations of secretary. Do I have any nominations from the floor for secretary?
Yes, this is Commissioner Paskowitz. I would like to nominate, I got a brain thing here. John Casanta, Commissioner John Casanta is secretary. He's been on this commission for quite some time. I think he understands the regulations, and comments he has made have been very in line with conservation itself, and also fair and impartial to the members and discussions with applicants and the regulations.
Thank you. Is there a second? I will second John Casasat. If there are no other nominations, by the way, for secretary, any other nominations for secretary?
John Bashan here.
Go ahead, Commissioner Bashan.
I would nominate Richard, only because I realize his background is, I think it would be suitable for the position.
So, Commissioner Casasanta, do you accept the first nomination?
Yes, I do.
You do need a second for Commissioner Lavalier.
Commissioner Wagner,
I'll second him.
do we have a second for Commissioner Casasanta?
Yes, you did, Andreas.
All right. So we'll take the vote for Commissioner Casasanta then.
I would just have Ms. Gibbon do a roll call vote, and each member can vote accordingly.
Okay, you ready? Ben Ancona III,
He's not seated to vote.
Oh,
Only Max Turgeon is seated to vote.
oh,
this
I'm
evening.
sorry. John Bouchard,
No,
he's not seated?
John Bouchard is seated to vote.
Who are you-
He's a
Oh,
full
yes.
commissioner.
yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking me my vote. I'm a full commissioner now.
Right.
So my
So are
vote
we
was,
voting,
we're voting
Just-
for John first.
We're voting for John first, yes.
Yeah. So mine
Okay.
was no, and nothing personal to John, of course, because I have a lot of respect for him, but I just had a different choice. So
okay, John Casasanta,
Is it proper for me to vote for myself? Or should I, normally in these type of situations, the two people nominated leave the room for the vote. And they usually don't
Really?
vote yes.
No,
Don't,
that's interesting.
Mr. Commissioner Bashan, that's usually what happens.
Okay.
You had been on the commission for long enough, you would realize that when there's a contested election between two candidates,
Oh,
they
okay.
leave the room for the vote, so they generally do not vote for themselves or the other person. So that's why I was asking if it was proper for me to be voting. I mean, this is the type of stuff we really should be, procedurally up to speed on, for the commission.
Yeah, I've never seen it before, so I don't think we had a contested one before.
We've
Yeah,
had
this is-
them before.
I mean, since I've been on, I don't remember anyway.
Yeah. So that's my question. Is it proper for me to vote? Because normally, in a normal situation where we would be in the chamber, the two candidates would leave the room and wouldn't be involved in the vote.
I wonder why that is. I mean, you could say, oh, you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, but they would know anyway because it's a public record, so it can't be that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, this is
Yeah.
how it's normally handled.
Anyone else know the answer to John's question?
I'm gonna have to default to Mr. Hinckley
Yeah.
on this one. This has never happened. I mean,
No,
you're gonna
it-
find out who voted for you anyway, right?
That is correct. They will find out because it is a public meeting.
No,
If the two candidates want to shut off their video and mute themselves, we can take a vote if that's what they'd like to do.
Well, no, that, Mr. Hinckley,
Yep,
that wasn't my point.
I
Normally,
understood. No, I understand.
nominated candidates don't vote because they're not in the room for the vote. So I was just inquiring, in a situation like this, would it be appropriate for us to vote in this particular?
Yeah, let me just, if the town clerk would like to chime in on that, perhaps. I know he's listening. If he has any thoughts, I don't have my internal rules in front of me, honestly, so.
Well, technically, there is nothing that would prevent you from voting for yourself.
Correct.
Yes, you could abstain from the vote, technically. Or as Commissioner Casasanta had indicated, you guys would normally have left the room, but it is a public record. So really, this one's uncharted territory for me on this one.
So I would leave it up to the candidate if they want to vote or not.
Well, I seeing that I'm here in the room and there doesn't seem to be any clear answer to my question, I might as well vote, and I'll vote for myself.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Wait, Mr.
just-
Chairman, I have a point of information.
who's speaking? Excuse me.
Commissioner Turgeon,
Go ahead.
are we, we're voting, so we're not voting on a single candidate right now. I'm just a little confused. We're voting, if we're giving our
No,
vote, we're
There're going to
choosing
be two
Richard.
votes. There's two motions on the floor. There's one for Commissioner Casasanta and a second one for Commissioner Varier.
Okay,
Okay? And I think we're gonna call the roll, Ms. Gibbon, for Commissioner Casasanta.
yes, okay, so
Roll.
the next person is Richard Lavarier.
You're muted, Richard.
Yep, hi. Well, I guess I'm voting for me.
No,
No. You're voting for Commissioner Casasanta. The
Oh,
first vote, you'll
okay.
come in a
Let's either
second
yes or
vote.
no.
Sorry, misunderstood that. I respectfully, no.
Alan Paskowitz,
Yes.
Andrea Sadil,
I will vote yes since I second the motion.
Max Turgeon,
no.
Jeff Wagner.
No.
Okay.
4 no, 1, 2, 3 yes.
So we need 5 votes to pass, correct? So the next vote will be for Commissioner Lavarier to accept for secretary. Please call the roll once again, Ms. Gibbon.
Yeah, John Bashand,
Yes.
John Casasanta,
No.
Richard Lavarier,
Yes.
Alan Paskowitz,
No.
Andrea Sadil,
I vote yes.
Max Turgeon,
Yes.
Jeff Wagner.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 no.
All right, so motion passes. Richard Lavarier is secretary. Also, at this time, I want to pay tribute to Dr. Kathleen Clark, our past secretary. I know her enthusiasm and her passion for environmental affairs is going to be missed on the commission. I just want to note in the record, we thank her. Unfortunately, she was not nominated to come back on the commission this year or next year. I just want to note in the record, we thank her and we'll miss her, her input going forward.
And I want to second that notion as well. She will be sorely missed.
Thank you, Commissioner Bashant.
Richard here, I would like to third that, you know, she's done a lot of great work for this town, and I personally appreciate it.
Yes, and this is Commissioner Paskowitz. She was impeccable as a secretary and right on topic with everything that had to do with the regulations and following up in accordance with the minutes. She is sorely missed as I speak.
Right. Thank you for those comments. Also, a point of order. Commissioner Block is absent this evening. I did speak to him last week, and he told me of his intention he was going to step down and fully retire from the commission. As of now, Mr. Hinckley, I don't think when you resign from the commission during your term, you have to notify the town clerk of your intention of stepping down. Mr. Hinckley, I don't think that has happened yet from Ms. Commissioner Block, excuse me.
No, I have received no communication, and the last time I spoke to the town clerk last week sometime, he had not received any at that time either.
That's correct.
So Commissioner Block is technically still on the
He's-
commission, but he did express his intention to step down from the commission. So just passing that word on to you,
Until he officially does it, he's still on the commission.
Commissioner. It's by the letter of the law, so to speak. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Now they got the elections out of the way. Moving on to topic 4, set meeting dates for 2021.
Yep,
Do
you
we
should
have
have all
these dates?
received that in the packet. The dates are there, the regular meeting
Yes.
dates are there, and the special meeting dates are listed as well.
When did we get a packet, Eric? On an email or something?
Email, correct.
I guess I missed it, but I'm sure that they're fine with me.
Just to point out, Richard here.
Commissioner Lavarier?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was clicking on the little blue link in the attachment, it didn't go anywhere. So
Didn't go
just,
anywhere.
yeah, just to
Okay.
throw that out there, but, you know, I'm sure they're fine. But yes,
Yeah, they were checked for conflicts with holidays, Jewish holidays. And if something does pop up, we can always use a special meeting date or cancel something. But it's typically the third Tuesday of each month. And then the special meeting dates are 2 weeks prior. If you'd like me to read them into the record, if nobody has them, I can.
I think they're on the screen right now, the dates.
Yeah.
I think that should suffice.
Okay,
So, Mr. Hinckley, I think we have to vote on these. We have to accept these formally, correct?
correct.
So may I have a motion from the floor to accept the meeting dates and alternate dates, special dates for Conservation Commission 2021?
so moved by Richard.
Commissioner Lavarier moved. Have a second?
Second.
Who's the
Who
second?
seconded?
Commissioner Wagner.
Commissioner Wagner? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Just a notation, Commissioner Lavier. Most likely your browser is probably blocking a pop-up. I just tested it on my phone. It is a live link for you, so that could be the issue.
Okay,
Just so you know.
I did
I
it
like
on
to make sure the
iPhone,
agenda
so-
packets are all posted properly, so
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, moving on to item 5, public participation on non-agenda items. Each speaker is limited to 2 minutes. Mr. Kapinski, is there anyone online wishing to speak?
We have nobody in attendance this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6, acceptance of minutes from the regular meeting of November 17th, 2020. Are there any additions or edits, corrections from the commission? Hearing none. May I have a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes of November 17th, 2020?
Commissioner Paskovich, I make a motion to accept the minutes as read from November 17th, 2020.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it. John Bouchard.
Second by John Bouchard. Mr. Commissioner Wagner, are you going to be voting or abstaining?
Stan, I read the minutes, but I won't vote on this one.
We'll stay. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention for Commissioner Wagner.
Yes.
Motion passes. I just got to get a yes out of that. Yeah,
Sorry
okay.
about that.
Okay, it's a yes. So minutes pass for November 17th. All right. Moving on to item 7, public hearing, Town of Newington Inland Wetland and Watercourses Regulations. Additions to the regulations regarding vernal pools continued from November 17th, 2020. I assume you've all gotten the updated draft. I can say for starters that we revisited TPZ last week, and I think we were received well as far as the changes we made from our first visit for the TPZ meeting. And in a nutshell, what's going to happen here is the vernal pool definition alone has been added to the regulation. Okay, this is the word for word, a Rocky Hill definition of vernal pool. And that is basically the only change in the regulation proper, okay? The direct and indirect indicators have been moved to the appendix outside of the regulations, as you can see here. So these are reference purposes only, and is not part of the regulations. These are guidelines, not regulations or rules. So when we have this definition, how do we know if you got a vernal pool or not, right? So this is a guide going forward in the future that we can look at direct indicators, which are listed in categories, and also indirect indicators. So if you have an applicant come in and if there's a question comes up, we have some guidelines to work to, not merely the definition, but we have some unofficial guidelines to work to make a finding of fact, if it's a vernal pool or not. And that's basically the crux of the changes. The 100-foot buffer still applies. There's no extended buffer. It's still 100-foot buffer from the wetland boundary. So that's the same. It has not changed. It was 200. It's now back to 100, basically covering everything else. So the other definitions. So again, I will also state number 2, that if a vernal pool is discovered and verified, the applicant, that does not disqualify the applicant from being granted the permit. So the applicant comes in, the mitigation plan may be looked at a little more stricter than normal, but that's just handled on a case-by-case basis. So that's basically the long and the short, the only comments I have to make. I open up to the rest of the commission for their comments.
Mr. Chairman, if I may quickly,
Go
just
ahead,
so
Mr.
we're all
Hinckley.
aware, The town attorney reviewed these new revisions and he had, no comment either way, so he's fine with them.
And we don't have to go back to deep to re-review them. I think it was reviewed once and actually we watered them down, so to speak, so we don't have to go back to the state on this.
Correct, because all of their comments had to do with what we were putting in the regulations. Since we've removed those from the regulations, there won't be any issue. So if and when you adopt these, the adopted version will get sent off to deep, and then the final version, once council chooses to accept it or not, will also get sent to them as well.
Okay. Commissioner Varier has his hand up. You're on mute, sir.
Thank you. Sorry. Previously, I believe we were looking at the Cromwell regulation. Am I correct? I think.
Correct.
Yes, that was our initial starting point.
Okay. So I still have like an issue with the natural versus man-made section, right? Because you're dealing with it like that. If you change your property and it results in a seasonal pool, that all of a sudden you have a duty to protect said land. I don't necessarily feel on board with that. I mean, and again, I went into more detail last week. Like, if there's a naturally occurring pool and you make it bigger, then yeah, I do think there's a duty there. But like, I think that we should be removing any language that is specific to natural versus man-made.
Commissioner Paskowitz here, I'd like to comment on that.
Please.
DEEP we're following these same guidelines as DEP has announced in their documents, as well as other towns. We're not adding or deleting certain languages that may be a conflict of interest to those two areas you're speaking to. I don't think we need to qualify it any further, and I don't believe it'll come to any considerable problem in the future.
If I might add that if Alan's
Commissioner
finished,
Bashant.
if
Commissioner
Alan's
Bashant
finished,
speaking.
yeah, there is no, I agree with Alan. There is no distinction, even with wetlands, whether it's man-made or natural. So I agree with Alan on that one.
If I may comment, is that the man-made clause was in the Cromwell, was also in the Rocky Hill regs as well. So this is a pretty standard definition that we found in more than two places. So I'm sort of want to go with the industry standard. If they're comfortable with it, I would leave the man-made clause or wording in there based on what our researchers told us to cover it. Any other comments from the commissioners?
Yes, Commissioner Laverier, again, if I may.
Yep.
I really think that there's a little bit of a slippery slope. Just because the so-called industry standard is standard doesn't mean it's right. I think that by including that in there, that you are infringing on too many property rights. And I really think that that is something that the clause itself could remain silent on and let people worry about later. That's maybe not necessarily something that we should be codifying at this point.
Commissioner Paskowitz,
Please.
again, if you can give us a case that's related to your concern for that language, I'd be more than happy to read it, and I'm sure the other persons on this commission would be also. But a lot of things pertain to
I'll
case.
see in 15 years when there is one, right? But like there isn't one.
Commissioner
That's I'm
Paskowitz has
just
the
trying to
floor.
foresee
You'll
it.
have it next. Order. Commissioner Paskowitz, please finish, and Commissioner Lavarier rebuttal.
Well, probability could be addressed in any word, in any language, across any statement of anything in wetlands or conservation and other commissions. So I'm comfortable with it. I don't think, in my opinion, having been around land use and regulations for a number of years beyond this commission. And it seems to be industry standards do have a empirical means of fulfilling definitions. And that's how I look at it.
Commissioner Varier,
Well, if we follow Cromwell, if we follow Rocky Hill, we're assuming that they did it right. And I think that we can do it better than those towns. I think that by removing that specific language, and again, remaining silent on the issue, lets it play out later. Not by saying that by putting in language that a vernal pool can be created entirely by man-made action, then what you're doing is by saying that by plowing the earth in a certain way could result in an inherent protection. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be protecting wetlands, right? Obviously, that's why we are here. But we might be creating too much of an interference by the government by keeping that in there. Regrading of soil, can result in an unexpected pool of water, and then all of a sudden you can't build on it. Look for example at many of the condos that exist in South Florida with man-made lakes. Hypothetically, if someone was to buy that land, should they have to protect that man-made lake? I say that they shouldn't have to, but I'm not necessarily saying that my opinion should be in the language. I'm saying that the language as to artificial versus man-made should be removed. Just remain silent on the issue.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, John Bashan.
Commissioner Bashan,
I think we may be overthinking it but in a way, I agree with Richard that if it was silent, there would still be no distinction. If someone created a body of water and amphibians started breeding in it, it would be a vernal pool. So there would be no distinction. So I think we're overthinking it. If you create a wetland, you have created a wetland. If you dig a hole and made a man-made pond, it becomes a wetland. So if you dug a hole and made a amphibian breeding pool, I mean, you're not going to introduce the amphibians, I don't think, but I guess if you did, it's still there would be no distinction.
good point. Good point, Commissioner.
Commissioner Paskowitz coming back.
Yep.
I put in some time with the Soil Conservation Service back in 1992. And part of my position was in the Natural Resources Division. And part of a duty that I was assigned to do was to look at aerials across land in certain communities of Connecticut for land use, development, and farms as well for agricultural use. We used a tool at the time called a spectroscopic, which would look down at an aerial and identify from a map in the past to a map that was most current in the aerial archive. And we could determine by that mapping and observation whether or not there was a change in land specific to a certain parcel. And we did discover ponds, streams, and vernal pools that had been either redirected or actually man-made because the persons at the time didn't take out a permit, or they were changing the land and were looking to do something different with the land, and it was looked at through the Soil Conservation Service for its use. So some things are man-made, but they're not correctly done, and they're done without a permit. That's why we have a permit process. So I rely on the town's permitting process and wetlands maps to confine what has happened in the past versus what is current now, from my experience.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Mr. Hinckley,
I would just say, I've been in this town, working for the town 14 years. We've had a total of one vernal pool identified in those 14 years, and that was in up near Cedar Mountain, as many of you are aware of. Newington is 93% built out. thereabouts. You're not going to find many vernal pools, man-made or otherwise, on a lot of the residential properties. And I believe you guys as a board, as Mr. Sedil has stated, you don't intend on holding anybody up because of it. You just may have more regulatory authority. And that's just all I have on the vernal pool situation in Newington.
Okay, any more comments from the commissioners? All right, Mr. Kropinski, is there anyone from the public waiting online to participate? This is a public meeting. Is there anyone waiting online to comment?
No public attendance at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right. If the debate has run its course, no other comments, is there consensus to close the public hearing at this time?
Yes.
Yes.
John Bashan, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Secretary, can I have a motion to close the public hearing on inlet wetlands rules,
Yep,
regulation revisions? That's
yes, so
basically-
moved.
So do I have a second?
Second by Commissioner Paskowitz.
Second by Commissioner Paskowitz, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
We got an opposition from Commissioner Lavariere. One opposed, any abstentions? All right, so the motion passes to close the public hearing. Did you get that vote count, Ms. Gibbons, for the record?
Sorry, yes, I was muted. Yep, I got that. I got that.
Okay, very good. All right, moving on to item 8, new business, none. Moving on to old business, Town of Newington Inland Wetland and Watercourses Regulations, additions to regulations regarding vernal pools. So in this segment of the meeting, we are going to vote to adopt these regulations that we've just taken a look at, the draft copy. These will be adopted by the commission and forwarded over to the town council for their review. Is there any further discussion from the commission on this? All right. Seeing none. Mr. Secretary, can I have a motion to accept adopting the town of these additions to the regulations regarding vernal pools?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second, John Bashan.
Seconded by John Bashant. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Opposed by Commissioner Lavariere. Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
I will prepare the adopted draft regulations and move them on to town council and get them in that process. So, Chairman, you and I may have to attend a council meeting, perhaps not
Understood.
you, but I will definitely be there. I'll keep you
I will
posted.
attend. Commissioner
Okay.
Paskowitz may attend as well, or anyone else for that matter is welcome to participate. Okay, moving on to item 10, public participation. Each speaker is limited to 2 minutes. Is there anyone online waiting to speak from the public?
Still nobody with us, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to item 11, communication and reports. Item A, agent communications.
I really don't have anything. The new town planner, Renata Bertati, is online at the meeting tonight. If she wants to say anything, she can. If not, I've been working with her. So with TPZ and other things and working with the boards. So otherwise, there's no wetland things I'm looking at. I'm looking into, there's a new training module through the state for wetland commissioners. I just haven't had a chance to look at it. I believe that it's free. Once I give it a quick test, I'll roll it out to everybody, and everybody should, take part in it. Even if you've done prior courses, I would highly recommend it. As soon as I have some better information on that, I will push that out to everyone.
So, Mr. Hinckley, is this open to all commissioners, or in the past, there was like 2 seats from Central Connecticut?
Right, because we had to pay for those. I have to check on, I believe this is free, but I have to double check that. And once I establish that, then I will be rolling that out to you guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else on agent communications?
Nope, that's it for me.
Thank you. We're moving to item B, Town Council Liaison Communications. Councilor Bedrejko, do you have anything to report for us this evening?
No, unfortunately, the last meeting, a lot of the activity now has been focused around the COVID situation and the town response, as well as, we had some support for the police department regarding the recent rash of break-ins. So that really took up most of the meeting. And our next meeting, which was supposed to be next week, has been canceled. So our next town council meeting, just for your planning purposes, will be January 12th.
Thank you. Moving on to item C, invasive plants.
I did the
Go ahead,
agenda,
Mr.
obviously,
Hinckley.
before I found out about Commissioner Clark, and this was her baby, so to speak.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody wants to take this over, or if you'd like me to just remove it from the agenda going forward, or we could also ask Commissioner Clark to speak once a year, maybe, invite her to the commission meetings to see if she'd like to speak on it, or if you guys have questions, let me know and I can remove it from future agendas.
I would love to see still, John Bashan here, if I may, Commissioner, Chairman.
Go ahead.
I would love to have her, if she's willing, to come once in a while, because that's, again, a big brain trust we're losing. And I learned a lot from her, from those reports.
I can reach out to her and see if she's willing to possibly give us a biannual report.
Commissioner Lavariere, you had your hand up?
Oh, no, I'm lowering it.
Okay.
Chairman Andreas
Go ahead.
Sedell? Yeah, I
Mr.
second that
Paskowitz.
also. I second that also in consideration of Kathleen keeping us on board. And I'd also like to add an initiative. We're taking the vernal pool initiative off, but I want to add and expand on an initiative that will relate to that as well, but in a larger venue. And the initiative term would be Pond Life Research and Education. I have been following up on lectures, most recently from some universities, and some of these persons are also chairs of inland wetlands commissions. So I'm finding some value that they're in the regulatory process, as well as monitoring and doing research on ponds and vernal pools in Connecticut. And I find value in following up on that.
So you're proposing adding a monthly agenda item for that topic?
Yes, look, taking off the term initiative vernal pools and changing and expanding on a larger scope of this to be pond life, which would be the life of the pond, it's within and around it, such as reptiles and amphibians and such, pond life research and education.
I can add that if the commission so chooses. You guys can let me know.
I'm soliciting comments from the commission. Anyone wants to comment on the proposal?
I have no objection to it, John Bashand.
Go ahead, Mr. Bashant.
No, I say have no objection to it, that's for sure.
Anyone else? Commissioner Lavariere?
Yeah, I think that we should definitely keep something especially as it relates to amphibian life that may exist, in wetlands. The definition that we just adopted is certainly very clear about that. So I think that that's something that would be beneficial for the town as a whole to keep on.
All right, so Any other comments? Mr. Hinckley, let's add pond life research and education as an alternative to vernal pools, as a monthly agenda item. Let's move that.
That's fine. And you also want me to remove invasive plants for now as well?
I'm okay with that. Comments from the commissioners? I don't think we finished that debate. Shall we just remove invasive plants as a monthly item for now? Or shall we leave that on?
I believe Mr. Casasanta wants to speak.
Commissioner Casasanta, go ahead. I can see your hand up. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay, Mr. Commissioner. Or Mr. Chairman, I apologize for that. Yeah, we might as well remove it now. If the person that was
Championing it.
presenting those reports is no longer on the commission and nobody wants to step up and replace her, why keep it on the agenda?
All right. So moved, Mr. Hinckley. Let's take that off
Okay.
for now. We can always add it back on if things change or there's a
Yeah,
new
if she
initiative.
comes back to speak, I'll just put her on under communications as reports and she can speak to that.
Thank you. All right. I think that concludes our business for this evening.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
have
do
a
you want to
motion.
do the introductions and such with Mr. Wagner?
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
You guys ready?
Yes.
All right. So I joined the military at 19 years old. I did 6 years active duty and 3.5 reserve. Been a police officer for 19 years. So I deal with a lot of Connecticut statutes and town ordinances now. I have to apply to law to how, if I'm arresting someone or a town ordinance. So I believe with that under my belt, I'll be able to read these laws and have a good, understanding of how to apply them. I think the environment is important to everybody. And again, I want to do what's best for the town people and the town itself. So that's about me. I've been in Newington for 16 years and I did almost 4 years in Plainville Police before I came to Newington. I moved into Newington in 2001, left East Haddam for a couple of years and came back. So I'm honored to be on the board and I'll try my hardest to work for the town and the people.
Commissioner Paskowitz here.
Go ahead.
It sounds like you do have a distinct background in interpretation of regulations, ordinances, and statutes, which is very well a part of what we're doing here as well. And I thank you for your service for your country as well. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And I would love people, if you know more, mentor me and make me a better commissioner.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Commissioner Wagner from the commission? Commissioner Casasanta.
Not a question. I just want to welcome him. Welcome aboard, Commissioner
Thanks.
Wagner. Good to have
Thank
you
you.
aboard.
Hey, Commissioner Casanta.
Same here. All righty. If there are no further comments, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner
Turgeon, sorry.
Turgeon.
Keep forgetting to say my name.
Okay. Second by
I'll second
Commissioner
it. John.
Bashant. Second by Commissioner Bashant. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good night.
Good
Bye.
evening.
Happy holiday, everybody.
Same to
Happy
you.
holidays.
Merry
Happy
Christmas,
holidays.
Happy Hanukkah, all of them.
Oh, I wanted to compliment Gail for her Christmas tree, but she already clicked out. So.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, everyone.
All right.
You as well, Richard.
Bye-bye.
Take care,
Thank you.
everybody. Yep.